Looks like we're live.
It says preparing to live stream the meeting.
We're good?
We are good. We are now live.
Okay. So this begins the pre-meeting for the City Planning Commission hearing on May 11, 2020. During the pre-meeting, staff and Planning Commission members review cases. There's no participation by the applicants or the public. Following the conclusion of the pre-meeting, a public hearing will be held at 6 p.m. Here, all cases will be heard, applicants will be present, and public comments submitted after staff reports were compiled will be read into the record. After the conclusion of the hearing, deliberations will follow. The Planning Commission will take action on cases that were heard at the public hearing. There is no participation by applicants or the public. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to pass things over to Tom for a brief moment while he goes over some of our rules and procedures.
Actually, we're going to go through the cases first.
Oh.
If anybody has any questions, and then we'll return to Tom.
Okay. Before we do the cases, as you guys know from our in-person meetings, I pass around a sheet for site visits. This is just to denote whether or not you visited each of our cases, the locations for each of our cases. Usually you guys visit all of the sites, so I'm just gonna leave it up to you. And if you haven't visited a site, please speak up and just let me know which site you weren't able to make it. I think that might be easier for me to keep track of. Okay, based on the silence, it sounds like everyone's visited all of the sites.
Yes.
And I'm seeing some nodding heads. Okay, great. Let me make a note of that. I'll be sure to read that into the record at the hearing for each case. All right, so I'll go through each of the cases. Does everyone have their agenda in front of them, or would you prefer me to share my screen and have one up on my screen?
I have my agenda.
Okay. So the first two cases are of the same project. This is the Rochester Police Department Goodman section and Northeast or Southeast Neighborhood Service Center project. It's a new construction of that. Actually, I will share my screen to show you the project site. So here I'm displaying the staff report. I'm just going to zip down to the zoning map. So this item is a zoning map amendment. There are 8 properties to be affected by this rezone. There are 12 of the total site. We are rezoning, then these properties will be re-subdivided. Having these properties all within the same zoning district and within the same parcel will make building and any subsequent approvals a lot less logistically challenged, make a lot more of our easier processes. Do you guys have any questions about this project? We haven't received any public comment from this one. The next project also is also part of this. It's a official map amendment that will be restricting vehicle access right here. So that's going to be what you see over here. It's going to be kind of a little plaza-esque area, a little bike boulevard, and that's to also complement and facilitate this development.
Anna, I had a question regarding, there was a comment on one of the forms. The person was asking about right-of-way and access for, I believe it was water or for sewage or something.
Yeah.
Is that taken care of?
Yeah, so that's part of the department.
First case.
Yep. So our engineering department here at City Hall, part of their application process to submit it out to all of the agencies for review so they can coordinate those types of things. And that the Monroe County Pure Waters Department comments will be a part of the approval with DES.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Right. So that was case 1 and 2. Hold on. So silly. I'm having a little bit of an issue. Here we go. Okay, so case 3, you guys should be pretty familiar with, as this project has come before you 2 times now. So this is that project on Joseph and Clifford that CDS Life Transitions is doing. The project in question tonight is Theodore Street. So they want to abandon Theodore Street. Currently, as it stands, all of the properties that have access on Theodore are a part of this project. So no properties will be affected in that manner. I'm all good, Tony.
Anna, there is one property at the end of the of Theodore that is not part of the project, unless it seems like there's a family there. Although I don't know, maybe they purchased it.
Yeah, so they are purchasing 6 Theodore, which is highlighted on this screen. And then
Okay.
And then there is one property that has like an alley backyard access to this, but they also have Mariah Street, so they aren't like locked in by this at all.
Okay.
This is kind of, I'm gonna zip up to their proposed after shot. This is kind of the same angle, but what it would look like once they have rights over Theodore Street. And this kind of shows how it'll be used more as a driveway and incorporated into their project plans.
Anna, when you
So
flip to
it will
pages
no
like
longer
these,
be a street.
sorry,
What were you saying, Eugenio?
That it will no longer be a street.
Correct. It'll be abandoned, yes. What was that, Carrie?
when you flip to pages like these and share them publicly, can you zoom in a bit so that we get the biggest view possible of what you're highlighting?
Sure thing. Yeah, no problem. I can definitely do that. I'm gonna cancel out of this one for now. Case 4, 93 Marsh Street. You guys are very familiar with this one. So a few things about 93 Marsh is, like I said, you guys are familiar with this because it originally came to you in January. It was a companion piece to a request for a subdivision at the same address. So the thing with subdivisions is they kind of have a ticking clock. So if a decision hasn't been rendered within 45 days of the submission receipt of a completed application, the subdivision is automatically approved. So by virtue of that process, the subdivision component of this project has been approved. But I do want to go over the hold items that you guys had specifically called out for both the subdivision and the ancillary parking lot. You guys had a few things that you had specifically mentioned about the ancillary parking lot. One was the need for additional parking, to which the applicant has made some changes to the site plan, but also provided an alternative parking plan. And then there was another bit about the parking lot and the lot lines, which I'm going to go zoom to right now. So here we have the revised drawing, and before there was a little bit of this lot 2 that was actually being serviced or being utilized by the parking. So the applicant has corrected those property lines. So now all parking is on lot 1. There's no exchange between this townhouse and the parking lot. And then he did add some bike storage that's part of his bike plan, and I just wanted to show you where that is. Now, in regards to the subdivision and some of your concerns there, you guys were concerned about pedestrian and bike access in regards to this driveway. So the paved area has been widened. So there are these kind of marked pedestrian areas, but they also are at grade. So if need be, in those cases where there are people trying to get around each other, you could kind of pull up there to make way for others. Some other changes to call out here are that the lighting has been drawn out more. So here was the lighting that was proposed with the original plan, but now he's shown us exactly where it's going by looking where A, B, C, and D is. Another change is this commercial dumpster that's fully enclosed is now only to service the multifamily home. Before it was shared by all of them. Now this dumpster only goes to this multifamily home. And each individual townhouse has their own personal toter that will be stored behind their property. Are there any questions on this one?
I do have a question. This is Steve Rebholz. Can
Go
you hear
ahead,
me?
Steve. Yep.
Okay, thanks. And so, well, a couple things. One, because I wasn't at the January hearing, I did listen to the hearing recording. So I guess I need that, you know, for the record, that I did listen to both recordings.
Great.
And so relative to the subdivision, you mentioned that the property line has been relocated to eliminate the portion of the asphalt parking lot that was on the property of Lot 2. So is that relocated property line, is that the subdivision that was automatically approved, or was it the old location of the property line?
It's what you're seeing in front of you. It's the current plans.
Yeah, so I guess just the question, you mentioned that there was a ticking clock on the subdivision. So the subdivision came in front of the Planning Commission. The commission back in January voted to hold on that, but it sounds like
Yeah.
there's a logistic or an administrative clock that then takes that hold away from the Planning Commission.
So it was the date that these drawings were received, which is, it looks like they were issued on January 30th. I'll have to go back into my email and see when in fact they were received by our and accepted by our office. But
Yeah, Steve, you are correct that it's the time clock is run in in accordance with the zoning code, so that trumps the hold that might be imposed by the Planning Commission.
So I take it that holds and the time clock are not affected by the state of emergency?
They ran before the state of emergency went into effect.
So I guess I'm a little confused. The staff report says the Planning Commission voted to hold on both applications. So that was ahead of the state of emergency. The application came back, right? But it needed to be held because there was no quorum, right?
Right, yeah.
Because two of us hadn't listened to the case. Now it's
Right.
back in front of us, but the subdivision is no longer part of the review.
That's correct.
Okay, so then the subdivision is what creates the need for the zoning variances that are going in front of the zoning board. Did that already happen?
No, it has not.
Okay, so I guess it's just, kind of a curious, maybe just a question. So the subdivision kind of creates the problem that the zoning board of appeals now has, right? Area variances are needed because of the imaginary lines that are drawn as part of the subdivision.
Yeah, so Steve, the subdivision is contingent on their getting the variance, any variances that are required, and contingent on their getting a special permit that you're looking at today.
So the subdivision is contingent on the alternative or the ancillary parking lot?
Jill, you probably know better than I.
Could you ask that once more, Steve?
So I guess, if I understand the statement correctly, the subdivision is contingent upon approval of the ancillary parking lot on the special permit? Or is the subdivision a completely separate activity?
No, it's,
Yes,
I mean,
the subdivision,
separate.
the subdivision is a completely separate activity. So
Okay.
the parcel where the ancillary parking lot is located is currently a parcel unto itself.
Right,
And
yep,
so the parcels that are being subdivided I'm sorry, it will be creating that parcel by itself. So the subdivision having already occurred, the acceptance of those lines has created this parcel where the ancillary parking lot is proposed. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
But,
I guess yes and no. The thing that's curious about the subdivision is that the zoning variances that are needed are really, in a way, created because of the subdivision. And the subdivision had a planning commission discretionary decision to be made that, by virtue of the time clock, was no longer a decision of the planning commission. I guess I just want to understand that. So now there's property lines that exist that create the need for a variance. So in a way, the variance becomes a self-created issue, not our issue, because it's going in front of the zoning board. But prior to the subdivision approval, I guess it's just a chicken and egg thing that I find a little, I guess, curious and administratively awkward, compounded by the fact that a decision that the commission had, they no longer have because of the time clock issue.
yeah, your observations duly noted. And this project, it can't move without getting so we're still waiting on the variances, Jill?
Correct. So,
Okay, so let's just leave it at this and let us move on. The project, regardless of what the subdivision that has been approved, is not going to move forward without the special permit and without the variances, the area variances required.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions on 93 Marsh? So the next one is 292 Parkway. That is a type of project that you guys are familiar with, and that's a certificate of nonconformity, which means we have a structure that was built as a commercial, but it's located in a residential neighborhood. This project, they are trying to establish a nail salon, so that underwent our CNC analysis, which determined a nail salon is not as intense use, that it wouldn't have that adverse impact on the neighborhood. So they're coming before you guys to get approval to establish that retail sales and service in that neighborhood with that CNC approval. The next one I'll bring up.
Before you move, Anna, that was number 6. We haven't done number 5 yet, but we'll go back to it.
Oh, thank you. My apologies.
With Parkway, did we not see Parkway last year regarding a child care center?
Yep.
Did they not? Obviously, they didn't go forward with it.
Nope, they did not go forward with that one. So now he's on the hunt for a new tenant, and he,
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was crazy or losing my mind.
No. Your mind is actually serving you quite well, because that's a fantastic memory.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And so he has secured this tenant. This is just like the last piece of the deal to get them in the door.
Okay.
Thank you for catching me too on case number 5. This is another project that you guys should be familiar with, as it came before you twice now. This is the Firehouse Saloon, located on the corner of South Clinton Avenue and Meg Street. They are looking for a permanent live entertainment to service their use. Their live entertainment is their operating hours. That's not to say that they constantly have live entertainment. It's just to allow for flexibility as to when they can program it in. Alrighty. Are there any questions on any of the ones we've gone over so far? Okay, now I will go on to number 7, 409 Alexander Street. I am going to pull up that staff report. So just a thing to note about this one is that included in the preliminary findings and the site plan is mention of a trench drain. That trench drain is no longer going to be a part of this project, as Alexander Street is being resurfaced. And we have the city rule where you can't do work on the right of way within 3 years of work on resurfacing. So the applicant's engineer evaluated the site, built off the pre-existing evaluation, and said that the drainage is more than adequate to be serviced without a drench drain. So this project will have still meet all of the necessary drainage requirements. Any questions about 409 Alexander? Okay, so the last one is a rooming house on South Clinton Avenue. And there's a few things I wanted to go over. So as with some of our other projects where there are additional requirements that we might have to waive, so rooming houses have certain criteria that they must meet outside of our regular special permit standards. So I will be asking you guys to look at something and consider waiving it, depending on how you feel about this case. And that one is this one, number C. Only habitable rooms originally designed as bedrooms shall be lodging. Now, this project is unique in that the building has morphed so many times over the years. It was originally constructed as a townhouse, like a 2-family side-by-side. We can tell that from this plat map, and we can also tell that from the architectural drawings in how there's 2 front doors and there's staircases that mirror each other. So back to that thing that we'd be waiving, it's kind of hard to discern which rooms were originally designed as bedrooms and which were not, as the site is currently being used as a mixed use with vacant first floor commercial. So who's to say that there weren't 7 bedrooms back in the day? It's just kind of something that you guys will have to consider. And I think that about wraps it up. How's everyone doing?
Good. Dave Watson had a question regarding the 24-hour resident management. Is that required if it's less than 15?
Yes. So 24. So let me. What you're referring to is
It's on page 1 of the staff.
What you're referring to is the definition of a rooming house, and that there needs to be a resident manager on site, and that is for 5 or more rooming units.
5 or more. Okay.
Correct. So this having seven units, there needs to be an on-site resident manager.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. I also just realized that I failed to do seeker, or failed to have you guys do seeker for the Parkway project. So we'll have to go back to that. So what we'll do here, you guys are familiar with acting as lead agency for our projects that need environmental review. I'm going to pull up the pages, and similar how we do it in our in-person meetings, I'm going to read the number, and then you guys will read the text in your head, and then just say if no, it will not, or yes, it will. And then I'll fill out my form here, as Dave will be filling out his form at his home. And then at a later date, Dave can mail his completed and signed form into me here at City Hall. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Can we make that larger once again?
Yes. Let me just rearrange everything. How is this? Do you need it bigger?
Nope, that's beautiful.
Okay, great. So number 1.
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
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 Number 2.
No.
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 Number 3.
No.
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 Number 4.
No.
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 Number 5.
No.
Nope.
Nope.
No.
Number 6.
No.
Nope.
No.
No.
Nope.
Number 7A.
No.
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 Number 7B.
No.
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 8.
No.
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 9.
No.
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 10
No.
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 and 11.
No.
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 Okay, so what we will have is Dave will sign and date his at back at his home, and then I'll grab that from him at a later date. But the seeker has been completed for this project.
Can I put today's date?
Yes, please.
And what I can do is I'll just take my copy out of my staff report and mail it into you.
That would be,
And-
yeah, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, I'll do that.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Tom, are you ready for our rules and procedures?
Yes, I am. Now I'm unmuted. So I think from the prior meeting, we've given you kind of the basic outlines of how we're adjusting the procedures to address not being able to be physically present together in a socially distanced world. So I won't go into them in detail. Anna, did we circulate what David's statement to the members of the board or?
Yep.
Yeah, so David will be reading aloud a summary for the public about how the process is being adjusted. But that statement also emphasizes a lot of what remains the same. And that is that there has been at least 20 days advance notice of the hearings on these matters, that you've gotten detailed staff reports and background materials several days in advance of the hearing, that you will be deliberating, holding public hearing in roughly the same order and amount of time that would be afforded to the applicant and the public at regular hearings, and that you will be holding deliberations over each of these matters in public, live streamed, of course, where the public can't have any more input. And so what that all adds up to, and the chief adjustment, the chief revision being the part about public comment. And that is that we've adjusted the procedures so that any public comments submitted before the staff report will be included in staff report and will not be read aloud at the meeting. Any public comments submitted after the staff report has been issued, and this has been clearly identified in notice to the public, have to be submitted by 5 p.m. on Friday before the hearing, and will be read aloud at the hearing in the same place that the public comment and speaking part would be otherwise. That is after the applicant has made the presentation and the members of the council or members of the commission have asked questions. But what will happen now is these written comments will be read aloud into the record, up to 3 minutes for most people, up to 10 minutes worth for designated representative of a neighborhood association. And to the extent can't fit any of those comments into those timeframes. It'll be summarized for you, but the public will be clearly notified that you've been provided with written copies of all of these beforehand as well. And so one thing that I had hoped to have written out and sent to you before the meeting, but that I haven't, is that we need to do a temporary waiver and amendments to the City Planning Commission rules of procedures. And so I'll just read aloud to you what they say. And the preamble I won't read aloud to you because you all know why we have emergency orders from the governor of the state and the mayor of the city requiring social distancing in such a way that we can't hold public in-person meetings. And whereas section 15 of our rules allow the CPC to amend the rules to deal with exigent circumstances, including the emergency orders. And that therefore resolve that commencing with May 11, 2020 hearings of the CPC and continuing for so long as necessary, as necessitated by the emergency orders of the governor and mayor, the rules are amended as follows. Section 4 regarding meeting quorum requirements hereby amended to define a member being present as including participation in any online teleconference live streamed to the public on a website duly disclosed in advance to the public and scheduled in accordance with these rules in the zoning code. Section 5 regarding meetings and section 8 regarding notice is amended to define informational meeting and public hearings and public deliberation sessions as consisting of meetings and sessions that are conducted in the same manner as described above. Section 11 regarding conduct of hearings is amended to suspend the right of any party or their agent or attorney to appear in person, except as allowed under the amended rules. Suspend the right to testify other than via live stream teleconference for applicants, and to allow public comment via advanced written statements submitted by 5 p.m. 3 days prior to the scheduled meeting and read aloud to the public. And suspending the requirement for speakers to sign a speakers list. Although I understand that we're going to be swearing in applicants and speakers, well, not the written speakers, but any applicants and their representatives will be sworn in at today's meeting. Section 12 is amended to clarify the reference to appearing party, agent, or attorney requiring in-person appearance, and instead is substituted by the teleconference referred to above. That section 14 is amended to extend the time for emailing or mailing written decisions of your decisions today from 10 business days to 15 business days. And so that is the resolution. And are there any questions on it before we ask for a motion?
None here?
Nope, none here.
And could we invite a motion to?
This is Carrie Carroll. I motion to pass these new requirements.
Second?
This is Eugenio Marlin, second.
All right.
And do you want everyone to go around by alphabetical order then, Tom, to vote on that resolution?
Yes,
Give us
please.
practice.
Wait, are we going alphabetically or by number?
By number, because it's alphabetical order. I put you guys in order. The number represents whoever's first. Carrie, you're
Neil,
up
it's
first.
so good. I vote in favor.
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 And so I just want to confirm that. So we have a vote of 7-0-0 to resolve to pass those items, to waive those items that Tom Worth noted.
Yes.
All right then, and I'll forward this resolution to somehow to David, and we'll get it signed, after the meeting.
Okay.
Go forward from there.
Okay, so if we don't have any more business items, what we can do is we can take a 10-minute break to the hearing to allow you guys to stand up and move your legs a little bit. Does that sound good to everybody?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's just get back here maybe a minute or two before 6 so we can get everything queued up to go back live on YouTube. But we'll stop the stream at this point.
Thanks.